A spy slips into a dimly lit room. He raises his pistol, fires once. A soft is all anyone hears. Nobody in the next room even looks up. It's one of the most familiar images in cinema, repeated across 1,000 action films and spy thrillers. And it's almost entirely fiction. In reality, even with a suppressor attached, many firearms remain loud enough that hearing protection is still strongly recommended. So if suppressors don't actually silence gunfire the way Hollywood promises, why are modern militaries around the world issuing more of them than ever before? And why are hunters, law enforcement agencies, and civilian shooters adopting them at record rates? The answer has almost nothing to do with stealth, and almost everything to do with something far more practical. If you enjoy premium firearm documentaries like this, subscribe to the Ballistics Bureau, where every week we explore the history, engineering, and stories behind the world's most iconic firearms. To understand what a suppressor actually does, you have to go back to its origin, and it starts with an inventor whose name is far more associated with something else entirely. Hiram Percy Maxim, son of the man who invented the Maxim machine gun, patented the first practical firearm suppressor in the early 1900s in the United States. His goal wasn't cinematic stealth. It was something far more grounded. Maxim wanted to reduce noise for the shooter's own comfort and to minimize disturbance to neighbors and wildlife during target practice and hunting. In fact, he marketed an entire line of products around quieting mechanical noise, including a suppressor for automobile exhaust systems, essentially the very same engineering principle applied to a car engine instead of a gun barrel. That connection alone tells you something important. From the very beginning, this technology was about managing noise responsibly, not enabling secrecy. Which brings us to the central lesson of this entire documentary: why suppressors were never capable of making a gunshot silent in the first place. To understand that, you need to understand that a gunshot isn't actually one sound. It's 3 distinct sounds happening in rapid succession, and a suppressor only ever addresses one of them directly. The first is muzzle blast, created by high-pressure gas rushing out of the barrel behind the bullet at incredible speed. This is the sound a suppressor is actually built to address, using internal chambers and baffles to slow that expanding gas down and let it cool before it escapes into the open air. This is where the vast majority of noise reduction actually happens, and it's genuinely significant, often reducing decibel levels by 20 to 30 decibels, depending on the specific firearm and suppressor combination. The second sound is something no suppressor can touch at all: the supersonic crack. If a bullet is traveling faster than the speed of sound, which most rifle cartridges and many pistol cartridges do, it creates its own miniature sonic boom as it travels downrange, completely independent of anything happening back at the muzzle. No suppressor design, no matter how advanced, can eliminate a shock wave created well past the end of the barrel. This single fact is why so many suppressed rifles remain surprisingly loud, because the suppressor did its job perfectly at the muzzle, while the bullet itself kept generating noise the entire way to the target. And the third sound is simply mechanical. Semi-automatic firearms cycle a bolt or slide with every shot, and that mechanical action produces audible clicking and clacking, regardless of how quiet the muzzle blast has become. Even a theoretically perfect suppressor can't silence moving metal parts slamming back and forth inside the action. This is exactly where subsonic ammunition changes the entire equation. Subsonic rounds are loaded specifically to travel slower than the speed of sound, eliminating that supersonic crack entirely and leaving only the suppressed muzzle blast and mechanical noise behind. This is why certain calibers become dramatically quieter when paired with subsonic ammunition and a suppressor together. The .300 blackout was specifically engineered around this exact concept, designed from the outset to perform well in both supersonic and subsonic loadings. Standard 9mm ammunition often runs naturally close to the subsonic threshold already, and the .22 LR has long been a favorite among suppressor enthusiasts for exactly this reason. But there's always a trade-off. Subsonic ammunition sacrifices velocity, which reduces effective range and changes terminal performance compared to a supersonic round. Quiet and powerful rarely come free of compromise. So if suppressors can't deliver true Hollywood silence, why have modern militaries embraced them so enthusiastically? The answer isn't about stealth in the cinematic sense at all. Reduced muzzle flash makes it significantly harder for an enemy to visually pinpoint a shooter's position at night. A reduced dust signature matters enormously in desert environments, where an unsuppressed muzzle blast can kick up a visible cloud of dust that instantly gives away a firing position. Suppressors also improve communication between team members, since shouting over unsuppressed gunfire in a tight formation makes coordinated tactics genuinely difficult. Reduced hearing damage keeps soldiers combat effective over years of service instead of accumulating irreversible hearing loss. And shooters experience noticeably less fatigue during extended engagements when they're not absorbing repeated concussive blasts at close range. None of this requires the gunshot to become inaudible. It just needs to become quieter, less disorienting, and harder to pinpoint. And that's more than enough to meaningfully improve effectiveness on a real battlefield. The engineering behind this comes down to a few core principles working together. Inside a suppressor, a series of internal chambers, commonly called baffles, force the rapidly expanding gas to slow down gradually rather than exiting the barrel in one violent burst. The gas cools as it moves through each chamber, transferring heat into the suppressor's body instead of releasing it all at once into the open air. Slower, cooler gas simply produces less noise as it disperses. Modern suppressor designs have also focused heavily on reducing back pressure, the gas that gets pushed back toward the shooter's face during firing, which improves both reliability and shooter comfort compared to older suppressor designs that could make firearms distinctly unpleasant to shoot. Which brings us to what movies still consistently get wrong. That familiar pfft sound effect bears almost no resemblance to what a suppressed gunshot actually sounds like in real life. Fully silent assassinations, where a suppressed pistol shot goes completely unnoticed in an occupied room, simply don't reflect the reality of the decibel levels involved. And suppressed revolvers, a recurring image in films, are almost entirely fictional, since the gap between a revolver cylinder and barrel lets gas escape before it ever reaches a suppressor, making effective suppression nearly impossible on that platform. There are genuinely quiet firearm and ammunition combinations that exist. Certain specialized subsonic setups paired with purpose-built suppressors can get remarkably close to what audiences expect from the movies. But that result comes from a very specific combination of firearm, ammunition, and suppressor working together, not from simply screwing a suppressor onto any standard gun. All of this points toward a more accurate way of understanding what a suppressor actually is. It's better described as a hearing protection device, a signature reduction tool, a communication enhancer, and genuinely useful equipment for improving overall shooting comfort rather than any kind of stealth technology. Research into suppressed firearm noise levels shows meaningful, measurable reductions in a shooter's overall noise exposure over time, which matters enormously for long-term hearing health. At the same time, it's worth being honest that suppressed firearms can still exceed commonly cited hearing-safe thresholds, depending on the specific firearm, caliber, and ammunition involved, which is exactly why hearing protection is still frequently recommended even when shooting suppressed. Hollywood made suppressors famous for entirely the wrong reason. Their greatest strength was never making firearms silent. It's making them safer to use, easier to control, and genuinely more practical across a wide range of applications, from military operations to hunting to everyday range use. The world's leading militaries aren't adopting suppressors because they create silent weapons capable of movie-style stealth. They're adopting them because suppressors improve communication between team members, reduce muzzle flash that could give away a position, lessen long-term hearing damage among service members, and make shooters measurably more effective in real operational conditions. Sometimes the biggest myths survive simply because they're more entertaining than the truth. And the real story of the suppressor, quieter, safer, and more practical rather than silent, turns out to be more interesting once you actually understand it. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to the Ballistics Bureau for more in-depth stories on the firearms, engineering, and history behind the world's most iconic weapons.